Logan. I'm Matt, and welcome to Matt on LAX. As a fan of lacrosse with some athletes, you can't wait to watch. There's a thrill and anticipation when they take the field because we all know something exciting is about to take place. Today's guest, in my opinion, is a highlight reel just waiting to happen. And you can bet that every time Garrett Epple takes the field, he's the one to watch. With big defensive stops, crucial turnovers, and even bigger hits, Epple never fails to deliver. So please join me as I welcome every attackman's worst nightmare, my friend, Garrett Epple. Hi Garrett, thank you for joining me today and welcome to Matt on LAX. Let's start at the beginning. When did you start playing lacrosse?
I started playing lacrosse officially when I was probably in about fifth or sixth grade. I had always kind of played with a stick on the beach and stuff, but not kind of organized until I was late elementary school, early middle school. So that was kind of when I got my first start playing some rec lacrosse. But always kind of played, like I said, on the beach and stuff growing up.
Who influenced you to start playing?
It was probably my dad and, some of his friends. We were originally from Baltimore, which is a big lacrosse, community. And he helped start like a rec program for me and my buddies to start playing. So that's probably one of the bigger reasons why I started playing organized as opposed to just messing around with my buddies.
As a young athlete, did you play any other sports?
I did. I played pretty much everything, actually. I liked, playing a ton of sports, whether it's hockey, football. I played a little bit of baseball. I wasn't very good. It was a little too slow for me. And I also played basketball too. So, football was in the fall, in the summer. Hockey, basketball in the winter, and then I'd play lacrosse in the spring. So it was pretty busy when I was a young kid.
Do you think it's valuable for young athletes to play other sports?
Yes, I do. And I think it's, it's fun, number one, but it also, teaches you how to really be an athlete. But yes, absolutely. I don't think it's necessarily a good trend that people are only playing one sport, like super, super young. Eventually you have to do that when you go to, college and beyond. But yeah, I think it's certainly beneficial.
When did lacrosse become your main sport over all the other sports you played?
It wasn't until I got to college until I started to focus on lacrosse as a main sport. I love playing football and even basketball and a ton of other things. So it took me a while to focus on lacrosse as a main sport. In college, for a lot of guys, you kind of have to do that to be competitive. So like I said, growing up, I was pretty much playing everything.
Was there a moment that you realized you could take your playing to the next level?
It was. And then, so I grew up in South Florida, and then I came and our family moved back to Baltimore. And then I realized it was pretty good. Then I didn't think I was as good as I was at the time. And realized that I could kind of compete with some of the better players. And I realized also that I could, potentially play in college as well. And then I started getting recruited in high school. And that's when I realized I could play at a competitive collegiate level.
As a young player, what were your biggest challenges?
My biggest, specifically lacrosse?
Yeah.
I would say it's a good question. Was definitely, stick work to begin with, just because I was playing a bunch of different things and, lacrosse time, and my stick wasn't as dialed as some other kids, I'd say. And then just, learning the game from an area where it's not traditionally a main sport was a challenge.
Many young athletes struggle with self-confidence. How and when did you develop your confidence?
Self-confidence, I was fortunate enough to be able to do a variety of sports fairly well. And again, going back to the baseball thing, I wasn't a very good baseball player, so I stopped playing pretty quickly. But I think, confidence comes from practice and, doing things over and over and again. And when I moved back to Baltimore, I remember coming home from middle school and stuff, and I would just throw the ball against the wall, and then I started getting better at it. So that's the kind of the biggest confidence piece for me.
It's clear you're a really competitive person. Where did you get your competitive edge?
It's a good question as well. I think, a little bit it was certainly innate, and I always kind of had that whenever I was, playing something competitively as a young kid or just fooling around with my buddies. I always wanted to win. And I think that's also, my kind of family background. When my dad was coaching me, or the coaches that I had when I was young, there was always a, focus on winning, which is good. You want to be competitive. If you're going to play a sport, you're going to want to try to go out there and win. So, I'd say a variety of those things added to that competitive level, but I think I've always just been, like I said, innately a competitive person. So that certainly was there from a young age.
At Calvert Hall College High School, you not only earned 4 varsity letters in lacrosse as a defenseman, but also 3 varsity letters in football. But then as a senior, you're captain for both teams. Was it challenging to manage playing for both sports?
I don't think so at all, actually. In high school, because you don't have to dedicate, an entire year to one sport. And since football's in the fall and lacrosse is in the spring, I was able to separate the two sports pretty evenly. And I think that's the way it should be for young kids growing up. Like I said, I don't think you should play, lacrosse year round, and you should dabble in other sports. I think it becomes more of a challenge when you play a winter sport like basketball or hockey, where that season bleeds over into the spring, and then you kind of have to make some decisions. You lose time, and that becomes more of a challenge. But no, I think high school sports allows you to do that, play different, 2 different sports, and even 3 sometimes. But I didn't find that as a challenge at all, actually.
Upon graduating Calvert Hall, you were off to play for Notre Dame. What was the experience like playing for the Fighting Irish?
It was great. I think we had a very competitive program. My coaches were excellent, so I was able to take my game to the next level. I don't think I would have been as good at other colleges rather than Notre Dame. So that was certainly a blessing. And my freshman year, we lost in the championship, and then next year in the Final Four. So it was certainly a bummer, but we were, our team was right there every year and competing for a national championship. So that was, certainly a great experience. And going to school like Notre Dame, where they focus on athletics, was pretty cool too to see. And that doesn't necessarily happen at other colleges.
Yeah, Notre Dame does have a great sports programs, but what was it like to play for Coach Corrigan?
Coach Corrigan, it was a fantastic experience. I think because he's been there for so long, it keeps a lot of the alumni together too. Pretty much every single lacrosse player that's gone through Notre Dame has one thing in common. That's Coach Corrigan. So that's, a fantastic kind of part of the experience going through. And he was, like I kind of touched on it a little bit before, but he's very knowledgeable in terms of, especially on the defensive side of the field, and getting his players to play a certain way. And for me, that was extremely beneficial. It made me a better player. And sometimes, he might be tough on some of the guys, but I was used to that. And, he really cares for a lot of his players, which a lot of people will tell you. So it's nice to know that you have a coach that's going to have your back on and off the field. And that was certainly the case with me.
After college, you joined the MLL and found a spot in the Atlanta Blaze, and then the Chesapeake Bayhawks. What was your experience like playing in the MLL?
So it was good. So there was a gentleman by the name, or coach by the name of David Huntley, who I'm not sure if you know who he is, but passed away a few years ago, was coach of the Canadian team, coach of Calvert Hall. He coached me in high school. So when I went and played for the Atlanta Blaze, he was the head coach of that team as well. So it was pretty cool to kind of circle back, play for him again. And he, Hall of Fame guy on and off the field as well. And that was a tremendous experience. And then I was able to play for Coach Dave Cottle, who a lot of my family members and dad, kind of friends growing up, played for him too. So we have a personal connection, and he was a tremendous guy to learn from and play for as well.
In 2019, you moved over to the PLL as a part of the Redwoods roster. What was the transition like from going from the MLL to the PLL?
So it was good. It was a great experience. It was a little bit more competitive in the PLL, which, I kind of liked. But it was also a neat experience because when they made the teams, they put a bunch of Notre Dame guys on the same team. So I was able to connect with my old teammates that way, and, still kind of carries through to this day. but that was a great experience because when you graduate college, you never think that you're going to play with those guys again. So, it was also a great opportunity for me. And, the transition was, the rules are the same, but they were a little bit different. The game kind of sped up, but, all in all, it's the same game. But the PLL's done a, tremendous job of bringing it to a more mainstream audience. So, we played on NBC every week. So that was a pretty cool experience.
That's really cool to play with your old friends.
Oh yeah, it's the best. So like I said, so it's funny when we played in the MLL, we were kind of playing against each other, and then we got to, eventually be on the same team again.
You're known for delivering some big hits on the field. So I have to ask, first, do you think your physical style was developed from your football experience? And second, do you ever feel like you have pressure to deliver the big hit?
So to answer your first question, yeah, I think absolutely. I, always played football kind of growing up, and that's definitely where I get it from a little bit. And I'm sure other people can say the same thing. So, whether it's football or other sports, that's why it's important to, play different things, because you can, develops, you into an athlete in a variety of different ways. And then secondly, probably, yeah, for better or for worse. So, while that may be the case that I feel that way, sometimes I have to tone it back a little bit.
How has it been playing for Coach Nat St. Laurent?
It's been, fantastic. The last 4 years, it's pretty crazy. It's been that long, because that's how long, you're in college for. So I played for Coach Nat now for same amount of time that I played for Coach Corrigan. But, Coach Nat, in terms of, getting kind of his players to kind of really rally around certain things is one of his, best characteristics. And he certainly has a tremendous amount of character himself and handles himself the right way. And that's, something that you really ask for in a coach. And it's not as you don't see that as often as you would think. So, Coach Nat has done a tremendous job so far, and being able to play for him this amount of time it's been a blessing as well.
Speaking of coaches, in your opinion, what makes a good coach?
What makes a good coach? Well, it's a good, fantastic question. So you'll get a bunch of different answers from a bunch of different people, but I think some trends across all sports is being a good leader. It takes someone to be confident in their decision making, because not everyone's going to like you with what decisions that you ultimately make, right? You have to, especially at the pro level, you got to trade people, you have to put people on the bench, and like I said, not everyone's going to like you, but it doesn't matter. You have to do what's best for the team. The team always comes first. Secondly is you want to be a coach where you have respect from your players. And that comes in a variety of different ways, but part of that is, as a player, is knowing your coach cares about you, number one, but ultimately we have confidence in his approach to the game, his strategy to the game. We respect his kind of knowledge and what we're trying to achieve as a team, and that piece is certainly important as well. Just as much as the X's and O's. So I think those are some trends that you'll definitely see for coaches across the board in all sports.
That's a good answer.
Thank you.
That was like a well-rounded answer.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
How have your coaches helped you in your career on and off the field?
Yeah, and it kind of goes back to the same theme, I would say. On the field, obviously teaching you how to play the game is very important. And secondly, off the field, it's especially in college, and when you have a lot of young men there, and teaching them how to be responsible and become a leader. And a lot of that comes through conversations that you may have with your coach, and them helping you individually and throughout the process of when you're 18 years old, you step on campus, and then until you're 22 when you leave. But a lot of it is relationship based, where your coach obviously wants you to be a good lacrosse player, but also wants you to become a good a good man, right, at the end of the day. And my coaches have certainly done that throughout the years. And like I said, it takes, a relationship building, but, them, helping you in a variety of different avenues to become a, responsible person who, other people can look up to.
In your opinion, what makes a good player?
Makes a good player. So, it's a very, very good question as well. I would say number one, there is, a certain level of ability that comes with being a good player. And some of those skills are, come naturally to some, and then others you have to work on a little bit. So that's number one. And then number two, it's being a leader and a teammate that other guys want to play for, where it, comes back to, your teammates know that you care about them and want to win, but are willing to do anything for them on and off the field. And I think ultimately, people or players look up to their leaders who know that that's the case, but are willing to do anything for the team. And again, that's probably something you find across all sports where, you're a guy that your buddies want to play for.
In 2019, you also played indoor with the NLL for the San Diego Seals. What was that experience like for you?
It was certainly a little bit challenging. It's a different game, and it was fun. It wasn't as good as some of the other guys, but it definitely, you use different skills in both those kind of versions of lacrosse, and playing the indoor game. It definitely takes a little bit of time to pick up and learn the nuance of kind of what's going on. But ultimately it benefits you on the outdoor game as well. Once you figure out how to be successful in the indoor, but it was certainly a good experience for me and broadened my skills as a lacrosse player.
Do you prefer the indoor game or the outdoor game?
I think I've only played indoor for a season and a half, and I'm used to the outdoor game. So, I certainly would prefer that. Definitely better at that too. But I think it's a pretty good version of lacrosse, and it truly kind of separates, athletes from other athletes where, at the end of the day, you have to get on the field and run by people, run around people, and showcase your athleticism. And I definitely would rather prefer to play that kind of version.
You always wore the number 52. Does this number have any special meaning to you?
Does. Do you know any players that used to wear 52? I'll give you a hint. He used to play for the Baltimore Ravens.
Football player.
Defense.
Ray Lewis.
There you go, dog. Yeah, he's my favorite player growing up, and that's why I wear his number. So
to be clear, you always wore the number 52?
For a good amount. I didn't wear it in high school. I wore it in college, but growing up, I used to if a rec program, if they had 52 available, I would be wearing that. So
these are not your shorts?
Those are not my shorts.
Oh, Hartzell! He's so full of it.
Unfortunately, I've never worn number 71. I'm sorry, buddy.
Oh, we gotta move on. But now, it's time. We have a video question from a young fan. Here's Harry.
Hi, Garrett. I'm Harry. I also play defense. After making a big hit, I kind of feel bad for the other player. Have you ever felt bad after laying someone out?
That's a good question. Maybe put me on the spot a little bit. If I hit somebody, I know it's a penalty. I definitely regret it sometimes. Do I feel bad for the other player? I don't think if I were to go out and cheap shot somebody and the guy got hurt, I would I would feel bad, but I don't, to my knowledge, that hasn't happened yet. But for the most part, in 99% of cases, I would say no. And whether even if you're playing football or anything like that, right? In a competitive sport, you don't unless you did something to cause bodily injury, probably, you don't want to feel bad for the guy you're beating up.
What is the most important skill for a young player to develop and work on?
Sure. It's a good question. It's 100% stick work. At the end of the day, it's a game of passing, catching, and, shooting. And that's the most important piece for young players to develop at a young age.
How important is the mental game in the development of a young athlete?
I would say there are mental kind of like skills that young athletes should start to develop early, which is, resiliency, being able to stay poised like during games. I think that's super important, right? Where to be able to come back from loss, it's one great thing about sports that teaches, young athletes is, you get back, you get that, you lose, you get knocked down, you get back up, and you got another game to play. And I think that's super, super important. That's one great thing about sports that teaches athletes something, pretty early on. It's a life lesson after that as well. But, the other kind of mental pieces of the game, it becomes a little bit more different in the pro game. But you don't have to worry about that as a young athlete. But, being able to take criticism is really important. That's something that young athletes should learn. If your coach is yelling at you, it's not because he doesn't like you, right? It's because he wants you to do better. And being able to take criticism from a coach or another player and be able to turn that into a positive thing is something that's really important.
What motivates you today to continue to play this sport?
I think it's a couple things that, I still get to play with my friends and we want to win. I think that's, a pretty big thing that keeps me engaged. And that's ultimately what it comes down to. And then, being able to compete at a high level is super, super important. And it's something that, older, as you get older, you don't have the opportunity to do that very often, if ever. So that's something that's, certainly important to me, but I, value that about playing the game.
What do you know about lacrosse now that you wish you knew when you were younger?
I wish I knew when I was younger how much running was involved. And then hopefully I would have done a little bit more of that.
Do you enjoy any hobbies outside lacrosse?
I do. Let's see. In terms of like doing hobbies, like I like, playing sports, playing golf, hanging out with my buddies. And, when you get older, you become interested in different like topics but all my activities are certainly revolved around sports. So golf's a pretty big one.
Yeah, golf's a nice sport.
It's the best sport.
Better than lacrosse?
I would say, it's pretty close. It's pretty close. It's a pretty good sport. So you learn that when you get older too.
Mm-hmm. I know a lot of old guys that like golf.
There's a reason for that.
After all you achieved on and off the field, what would a fan find surprising to learn about Garrett Epple?
I live in one, unique thing is I live in San Diego now, which is, different from the East Coast where I grew up. But, might have to think about that one a little bit more and revise my response. It's a very good question, Matthew.
Well, Garrett, get ready because it's time for the MedTech. In the 2022 PLL season, you grabbed 19 ground balls and 19 caused turnovers. So here are 19 quick questions. You ready?
Ready.
3 words to best describe yourself.
Love my family.
What did you want to be when you were little?
A hockey player.
Who makes you laugh?
My girlfriend.
What's your favorite snack?
My favorite snack? Those almond, salted almonds, the Blue Diamond ones.
Do you have a favorite video game?
Yes, and I would say FIFA.
What is your favorite sports movie?
Miracle.
What was your favorite TV show growing up?
They're The Office.
What actor would play you in a movie of your life?
Leo.
What's your biggest pet peeve?
Pet peeve. People can't drive.
What's the last thing you bought?
I bought food.
Do you believe in ghosts?
Sometimes.
What's your favorite meal?
Crabs.
Have you ever called the cops?
On who?
Anyone.
I think so. But I can't remember, but I'm almost certainly positive.
What does your favorite t-shirt say?
Austin 316.
Favorite thing about Notre Dame?
Football.
Has a movie made you cry?
Yes.
Who is your biggest lacrosse influence?
Matt Landis.
What is your favorite ice cream flavor?
Mid chocolate chip.
And finally, work hard or play hard?
Work hard. It's my PC answer.
Garrett, now it's time for our new feature. Choose your next segment. Heads or tails?
Tails.
Great choice. Get ready for the Garrett Epple Dream Team Draft. It's time for you to make your picks for the ultimate lacrosse squad roster. You ready?
Got it.
Let's start with the offense. Your starting attack line?
Lyle Thompson, Gary Gate, and Pete Spell.
Your midfield?
Well, I'll go to new school. Probably throw Rabel in there, Matt Strebel, and I'm trying to think one more. Pass.
Who's your face-off?
Trevor Baptiste is probably the best of all time.
What's your defense line?
Is me, Matt Landis, and Eddie Glazner.
Who's your goalie?
Tyler Fiorito.
Who's your coach?
Coach Kevin Hundley.
And finally, what's your team name?
Team name? Team Mad Dog.
That's an awesome name.
Thanks.
Maybe next time I'll get in that team.
Yeah, there you go. Maybe.
I have to ask, since I play attack, without naming any names, a simple yes or no. As a defenseman of your size and strength, is there any player that when you see them on the field, you can't wait to knock them around?
Oh, yeah. Plenty.
Well, Garrett, it looks like we have a turnover. Do you have a question for me?
I do. I was thinking about it, and you as a young athlete, what do you think is specifically unique about lacrosse as opposed to the other major sports that we play in North America?
Well, this is a good question. Well, lacrosse is like very fast, and the speed of the game is like faster than anything, so it's so exciting to play and watch. And just like you create such good memories and you have such fun with your team and like you have good team bonding.
I agree. That's a great answer. Thank you.
Before you leave us today, I have two final questions. What's the best advice you received as a player and who gave it to you?
Probably be stay hungry and humble from Coach Byrne.
What advice would you give to young players that continue to play the sport?
My advice for the young kids is play a bunch of sports. And if you like lacrosse and want to continue to do that, practice and learn the game. And take your coach's advice and learn from their coaching.
And finally, finish this sentence. Lacrosse is?
Lacrosse is, well, I'll even wrap it back into my own question. I will say lacrosse is specifically unique because you can be any size, any build, frame, short, tall, you name it, type of athlete, and you can be good. That's one thing that is super awesome about, lacrosse is you don't have to be huge. You don't even necessarily have to be fast. And you could be a variety of different athletes and be good at this game.
I think that was the best answer we got for that little segment.
Thanks, Doc. I appreciate it. Well, I appreciate your time so far.
Well, Garrett, thank you so much for spending your time with us today. I really appreciate you sharing your experience with me and our audience. I wish you can continue success in all you do. Most of all, I look forward to seeing you back on the field next season, and I hope that you'll join me again. Thanks again.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. I appreciate your time. This is very well done. I think I'm very impressed for your age to be able to do this. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
See ya.
Hey, it's Matt. Go check out my website at mattonlax.com.